Glad somebody's watching. Please join us for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good morning to everybody. Welcome to this morning's Commissioners meeting. Our first order of business once again is to approve the minutes as of Monday, January the 6th. I think we've all had an opportunity to review them. Entertain a motion to approve as presented. Cody has moved. Entertain a second. Second. Tom is second. Any discussion? If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried 5-0. Consent agenda. We have three tax abatements. Move to authorize Director Chairman to sign three tax abatements to the county tax roll in the amount of $62.46, and three of them are very small, and it has to do with a vehicle that was listed as commercial for the last 3 years. So, entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda. I'll make a motion. Tom is so moved. Entertain a second. I'll second. Fred is second. Any discussion? If not, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried 5-0. Under miscellaneous motions, we've got two resolutions that our county council has suggested we need to change the wording. They were originally to be working with the general fund. Move to approve resolution number 816FA, a revised resolution transferring funds to the Coffee County Risk Management Reserve Fund, and it was originally general fund, so that's been changed. General fund's taken out. Second one is the same thing. Move to approve resolution 731-0A, a revised resolution transferring funds to the Coffee County Equipment Reserve Fund. Entertain a motion to make those two corrections.
I'll make a motion.
Tom is so moved. Entertain a second.
Second.
Cody is second. Any discussion?
Since those are resolutions, should those not be taken separately?
We need to separately?
Yep.
I know this time seemed like we've done both. Okay. Entertain a motion to do the first one, 816-FA.
I'll make a motion.
Tom moved. Cody second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried 5-0. Second one is 731-0A, transferring funds to the Equipment Reserve Fund. Entertain a motion to approve.
I'll make the motion.
Cody has moved. Entertain a second.
Second.
Tom is second. Any discussion? If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried 5-0. Next order of business is move to appoint blank as chairman of the Coffee County Board of Commissioners for 2020. Entertain nominations for the chairman for year 2020. I would like to nominate as chairman for next year Cody Haddock. Entertain any other motions?
I would do the same.
I'm sorry,
I would do the same.
entertain any other motions? Any other motions before the commission? If not, so move to pass a unanimous decision. I'm not exactly sure the proper wording for that, but all in
Motion, a second, and a vote.
pardon?
We'll need a motion, a second, and a vote.
Yeah. Entertain.
I'll make a motion to nominate Cody Haddock as chairman of Coffee County Board of Commissioners. for the
Tom
year
has moved.
2020.
To appoint-
that.
Bob's gonna second?
Yep. Second that motion.
Any discussion? If not, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? I didn't hear you talk, Cody. Motion carried 5-0. Next one is move to appoint a commissioner as vice chair of the Coffee County Board of Commissioners for year 2020. Entertain a motion to appoint.
I'll move to appoint Tom Huguenin for vice chairman.
Okay. Any other nomination? Any other nominations? If not, I would entertain a motion to approve Tom Huguenin as our vice chair for next year. And also entertain a second.
One second.
Cody a second. Any discussion? If not, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed?
Aye, and I would like to have had Fred do it for his last year.
So we got 3-2. Is that correct?
No, I was joking.
Okay, we go to 4-1. Motion carried. Cody, I guess we're gonna turn this over to you, but before I do it, you know, this 2019, it's totally unreal how fast 2019 seemed like it's only been 2 or 3 months ago since we started in January, and 12 months already passed. Sincerely appreciate all your support. You know, I think we've accomplished a lot in 2019, but we've also got we've got some items that's got some unfinished business. And of course, that's the way businesses operate. You never finish all your business that you've sought out to finish up. So, a special thank you to all of you for your support during 2019. Cody, welcome to be the chairman of 2020. More than pleased to turn the chair over to you.
You get the gavel too?
He can have the gavel. He'll use it on Bob.
The traveling gavel?
Well, it can be. It was one made by Carl and presented to myself, but I don't think Carl would have any problem if it was passed on to the chairman of Coffee County.
Appreciate it, thank you. I gotta look at the agenda. We're ahead of schedule. No? 9:05, county attorney. Wade's here. Only 3 minutes behind. That seems more normal.
Let me grab Lori and Anita.
Okay. Behind.
We read sign this last minute here.
And I've got them signed. There you go, Angie.
Still not as lengthy of reading as chairman of planning and zoning.
Ms. Lori?
So, I'm gonna stand if nobody minds, and I'm here on the agenda in my capacity as the Coffee County attorney. So, Lori is with me, and Anita will be in momentarily once she gets off the phone. the first thing I'm gonna start with is, I planted some seeds a couple weeks ago in reference to some probably needs within the county attorney's office. One of those needs, and probably one that's very important to me, and I think Lori as well as the victim witness coordinator, is to have an independent room within the county attorney's office for victims. And why is that important? Because if you come into the county attorney's office, you'll see that it's in a high traffic area and people come in and out, and typically if you have a victim of a crime, they'll have to come in and sit at those chairs right inside the office. Why is that an issue? Let's use sexual assault as an example. Somebody who's getting ready to testify in a courtroom, and anybody in general who's going to testify or come in and give a victim impact statement, to have them have to sit and be exposed to the public is a disservice to that victim. That victim, and they're not really victims, they're survivors. I think it's especially important that they have an area that's independent and free from the flow of traffic. People come in, joke around, which is fine. They don't know what they're dealing with or what they're exposed to, but they need to have a place where they can feel safe. And having a room to do that, a conference room, whatever it may be, is especially important to me. And it's important to all other prosecutors, and I'll let Lori speak to having to talk with and speak to victims within the office as it is currently designed.
Yeah, well, anybody that's been in our office knows that I don't really have an office or a space to meet with victims or anybody. So we're sitting right out there in the open. Everybody can hear. So I don't have any privacy in speaking with victims. So it's an issue in that respect, that we need some privacy. We need to be able to have a place to be able to have a confidential talk.
And anybody who's been through the county attorney's office knows that it's a high traffic area, high volume between phone calls and people coming in and out. I mean, that's just the nature of how that office operates. And some of the things that are important with victims' rights are for the victim to be treated throughout the criminal justice process with fairness and respect for their dignity and privacy. I don't think that's being done under the current setup that we have. I think it needs to be addressed. That's why I'm here making the comments I'm making today. Second is the reasonable protection from the accused, including having a waiting area separate from the defendant and defendant's relatives and witnesses. That's what the basis of this request is about. Although witnesses and victims are separated from defendants, I don't think in its current format it protects their dignity and privacy the way it's set up. So I don't know what the answer is. I know the office in its current design is probably not going to cut it, and I really don't have any ideas. I'm not here to make waves, but I mean, victims we need to make sure they're protected, and maybe you guys will have some ideas. This is my continuation of planting the seeds. I don't expect to have any answers today, but I at least want the dialogue to be open, and if there are any questions.
I'll just add, and typically on docket days or any other time, I mean, we've constantly got defendants coming up and down to get diversions, get paperwork filled out. So if there's, so Anita has traffic or criminal people, defendants, that could be up in the front part of her office. So if I'm trying to meet with somebody at my desk, there's just no privacy there at all.
I don't have a solution, but a suggestion, just maybe, since we are doing a jail study now, We have this building across the street that's vacant now, and I just wondered how that would work on a temporary basis for your office. And then when we're doing a jail study, if we incorporate a new office for the county attorney in that, so it'd be whether we add on the parking lot, whether we fill in the gap in between two buildings, or whether we build a whole new system, whatever it be. I know it'd just be a Band-Aid, but it could be better than nothing, maybe.
And
Just throw that out there.
I'm open to reviewing options. The building across the street, I'm not gonna go into what security type issues that I'd have with the building across the street, but,
You feel you need to remain in the courthouse?
my preference would be in the courthouse. I think there's issues with the building across the street that and this may be me being, overly cautious, but I have some internal feelings about the building across the street to just house the county attorney's office there. But I don't know anything about the building across the street, just in its current, just looking at it, I can see it right now. I'll leave it at that, unless anybody wants to know more.
It's, you brought it up, it's known, and I kinda had the same feelings as Bob, which I figured they would have been the unpopular opinion, but yeah, the jail and the court and the county attorney's office are intertwined, and if we're looking at one and another office is having the same issues, can look at both, I would imagine, and I doubt we're the first that would do that either. I'm sure
Growing pains.
I was gonna say, you're on the agenda to talk about the jail study, and I'm sure those 3 candidates we met with have had the same issues, or have made plans for the same issues for other counties.
The second part, because I know we're on a strict agenda here, is potentially getting some more help within the county attorney's office. So I've thought a lot about this, and although it's not something that I want to bring to the commission or to the board or to the public for that matter, but it's been impressed upon me that we need help in the county attorney's office. And I've been here for a year, so then the question becomes, well, how have the 2 guys who came before you been able to operate in the county attorney's office, and now here you are a year in, and you're asking for help. They've done it without. So the people who've been here are Lori and Anita, and I think maybe they can explain what's happened over the last year and historically that leads this request to being made present time today. So I'll turn it over to Lori, and Anita can comment afterwards.
Well, one of the biggest things, I think, on top of just caseload, the number of crimes, the number of victim crimes, I think all of that is up. So that just increases the busyness of the office. But things have changed now in the way that the court system does things. So they're now on an e-filing system, which has totally changed the way that we have to do things and the way they do things. And basically, that has put a lot of their work basically back on us. And everything now that we have to do, it has to be e-filed, and things that they used to do before, like issuing summonses, issuing, what else? Subpoenas, those kind of things, any of that, giving us back our copies, sending those out, all of that stuff now we have to do. So, I mean, there's times we'll come back in, even from just an afternoon, and we'll have 90 documents that we have to print out. That'll take an hour and a half, 2 hours just to print the documents alone, just going in and getting everything printed out, to where before they used to make us a copy and they just put it in our box and we had it. So now we're spending a lot of time just printing documents and stuff out of the system, everything that's been filed. And, I mean, that takes up a lot of time.
And to add on to that, district court's getting ready June 1st to go to the statewide system that is mandated by the state. And at that point, we're gonna be doing double the amount of work in filing a case, because we have to enter everything in the system twice. And at that point, unless we go with an additional $50,000 program, we cannot, just push a button and electronically file it. We are going to have to be doing double the amount of paperwork that we're doing now to get a case filed. Plus, the cases are getting more complex, going to take more time. Society has changed. It's maybe not for the better, as to the criminal area. Plus, we now have 2 new troopers in the county that have generated a lot more traffic off of I-35. We are getting more traffic cases than we had in the last, well, several years. Just the amount of officers, we have more county officers even than we started out with. It's all generating more documents. What we used to send someone to DO's, the Department of Corrections, for prison, we now generate from 15 pages, and it used to be a 2-page document we sent. It's just, everything's getting more complex.
Oh, right, yeah. That's another thing, yeah. The forms that we have to fill out, and they're constantly changing, and every time you think you've got it changed and updated, 2 months later, they're changing them again, and it's not just the standard form that we were used to be able to fill out to document what happened in court. Now we have to follow their standard forms, which are in child needed care cases and her criminal cases. I mean, they're pages and pages for one case, and that it's very time consuming just to keep on top of that.
And I'll mention, for those who don't know, the days of being able to take a piece of paper and file it with the court for anything to do with the county attorney's office, those days are over. Everything has to be done electronically, so you have to get all the attorneys who are involved, their signatures electronically. They have to agree, so there's the sending emails, waiting for a response, printing the response, so you have a record that they approved that particular journal entry or motion or whatever it may be. And then, since the sheriff's here and undersheriffs, in addition to Lori and Anita, the other thing that over the last year that I've been told, and I don't know, because everything that happens right now is my normal, because that's just how it's been since I've been here. But I'm told that the severity of the more serious crime, or the frequency of the more serious crimes, is more frequent than it has been in the past. The felony cases that have been filed that are more serious has increased, and I don't think you'll see, if you do an analysis, that the caseload is probably significantly different, but the severity of the cases on a continuous basis is what you'll find, which requires more time and attention. And then if you have cases that have victims, obviously you have victims' rights that needs to be taken into consideration, and it's important to me to get their input and feedback in reference to how to resolve the case, what they want to see happen. So that takes additional time and attention, and maybe the sheriff or undersheriff can chime in, because they've looked at it historically too. They've been here, I've not.
I think we're busier than we've ever been, and I think I would not repeat what Wade said, other than to say the types of crimes and the fact that the days of just having to review an officer's report, go over his testimony in preparation for court, go in and testify, are gone because of all the video. Now, with the body cams and the in-car camera and all that video's downloaded, hours and hours of video, from the time, say, an officer stops, everything, say, for example, a DUI traffic stop. Those used to be relatively simple to process. And now, from the time you stop the car, we had one up by Lebo Friday. By the time you stop the car, you interact with them, you take care of the you do things there. By the time you go to the jail, and by the time you do that, you got about 3 to 4 hours of video that has to be reviewed. And Wade's very thorough about that, because like any prosecutor, you don't want you don't want to get surprised when you go to court, you know, and a defense attorney pull up something in a video that you weren't expecting. And so I think it's just the standard practices in society and just, it is what it is. And we've been telling Wade for a while that, man, you need to get you some help. You need to get you some help, because it's just, he's not afraid to take a case on that maybe traditionally in the past we hadn't had the ability, because of video, to back up what we were saying, you know, on a case maybe. Now that's there to where it bolsters his ability to file cases for us, and he's not afraid to file a case and take it to a jury trial, which then, that in itself just, it's a lot of work.
So
No,
cut you
go
off
ahead.
there, but.
No, you're fine.
So going back, ultimately, at a minimum, a part-time person and potentially even a full-time person. And talking with Anita and Lori, I think there's enough work within the office to keep either, at least the one, if not the other, busy full-time.
So that was my first question, is identified, are you looking more data entry clerical, or do you need someone that actually has legal assistant experience, or do you know what you're after yet?
Ideally,
do you have room for
ideally it would be
over there
to have somebody who has a legal background, but I mean, that may not be available. So, but somebody can also be trained.
Right.
And right now, the issue that I have is this isn't anything that I even remotely considered with my budget for this year, because it wasn't something that I guess I realized it may be a concern, but not the imminent concern that it is now. So I don't have an answer. Again, this is just me further developing my seed planning that I did several weeks ago. And what I want you to do right now is to maybe think about it, and then I don't know what it would look like. I mean, we have two different things. Office space, if we don't have a conference room, then if we add somebody into the office, where are they going to go? I've got an intern in the office right now, and they're sitting on a chair in a corner with a laptop and a small, barely even table to do what they're doing in the office. So,
Well, I appreciate the fact that you're giving us a heads up instead of coming in and say, I want an answer today. I think because things, you know, we make things, we need to really think about it. But I have some other idea. I will get with you and run them past you, and then you can take them for whatever you want to take them for.
okay. Any other questions? Since we have basically the two people in the office that are the secret to the county attorney's success, both Anita and Lori, and I can't give them enough praise for what they do on a day-to-day basis. Without them, I wouldn't be able to do my job.
True story.
Thank you all.
Thanks, Wade.
Thank you.
Russell?
Morning. So, I think y'all have a monthly report. If you have any questions in particular, I got several things I wanted to discuss. Just got any questions to start off with?
When was the draft from the graded exercise? Was it 30 days or 60 days?
Yeah, I think it's 6.
I thought the draft was early, but.
Yeah, I think it's 30 and 90. So they gotta have the draft out by 30, and then, well, with the, and then, final.
Final.
90, yeah.
If anything had come of that you were
No.
aware of, or yet.
So the one thing is the top NRC Top Conference, which is the Training and Outreach and Planning Conference. This is a conference where they obviously do training and outreach and planning. And one thing they do with this is plan dates, and they do an 8-year calendar and go out. It's something that in my 12 years now, I've went to a few times. This next one's going to be in Texas. The thing they're having at this one that makes me think that we may want to go to this one is a panel talking about iPaws. and they haven't officially invited us yet, but they're still in the development stage of exactly what their topics are gonna be, but they've indicated they may want us to sit on that panel. So, I guess I'm here asking permission, if we do decide to go to that, do we have permission to go to that? Since Courtney and I would probably go, and we would probably drive, would be the plan right now, so. Is there any issues with us going to that? I'm not necessarily gonna go if we aren't part of that panel, because the most of that conference is NRC and, utility oriented. The local is fairly limited until it comes to topics like this, since they're having a panel specifically on what we were the first ones to the nation to do. That's the only reason I'm not gonna go. Does anybody have any
issue with it if you're invited to be a part of the panel?
Yeah. Okay. And then on the same note is the National Radiological Emergency Preparedness Conference, and it is in Nashville. Here again, we don't go to that every year. I've went 4 times, I think, in my 12 years, and years I haven't went, Courtney's went a few times, a few years we haven't went. Here again, Courtney, at this one, us and Wolf Creek have been invited to actually present at that conference. It's probably going to be Courtney and Kathy Autry and Jeff Clark from FEMA as the presenters. And then they have several good things on this conference, and it's more broad-based, not so utility-focused, NRC focused, and so there's several public information officer things that Carl was pretty interested in, and so we were looking at going to that conference in Nashville.
When was that?
It is the last week of March, first week of April.
Is it a full week conference?
It's a 3 days, so like travel on Monday and Friday type of thing, yeah. And there again, especially with 3 of us going, we figured we'd probably just drive that and not fly. Being in Nashville, I think we figured it's about 10 hours. Drive down one day, 3 drivers. So does the commission have any issue with us going to that one?
No.
And as a presenter, actually, they haven't sent this confirmation yet. I believe that as the presenters get their conference registration free and I think a free room, so. Okay, so the other thing that we talked about previously was the old expedition. I did a little research. I've had a chance to talk to a couple of you on it. Going to the local dealer, a Ford Expedition or a Chevy Suburban to trade would be about the same price. They were allowing $5,000 for the old one to trade for about $45,000. Since it changed the state contract pricing on it, which would be a little bit different model. It's more of it's a special service vehicle model, which means like a government type vehicle. Its outright price would be $40,000 without a trade, so you still have the old Expedition to get rid of somehow. So with the trade and stuff, it'd be about $10,000 difference from a state contract versus buying one here locally. The one here locally would be not the special service vehicle model, meaning it would have more of your standard mid-range package of accessories and stuff. So I don't know if the commission wants me to take any further action on that, or...
Well, I wouldn't trade for $5,000, but I think you can get more than that out of the Expedition.
I would think
county
so.
sale or something.
Or Purple Wave or something.
But, and I don't see any problem. If you go state contract, you're getting something that's cut down, got all the bells and whistles, and I'm not sure we need all the bells and whistles.
Yeah, it's up to the commission.
You've had this in your budget, what, for 1 year or 2 years?
It was in the
Set the budget.
It was in the 2018 budget, and we didn't act on it in 2018, and so it went to the capital or equipment reserve fund, and so the money's been there for 2 years now. If the commission wants to act on it, I can act, or if they don't, that's up to you guys.
How exactly does a special service vehicle differ from
There's things like this, the front seats are, well, let's see, you can add, or, like in the price I gave you, you add in $100 to get all cloth seats versus vinyl. The floors are rubber versus carpet. I think they come with a bigger alternator so that if you put lights and sirens on it, you got more power. They have, just cheaper trim. Like one I drive is a special service vehicle. It still has power windows and locks.
It's like an XL package in there, we just.
Yeah.
Link it in.
Mm-hmm. With some of the stuff deleted out, like carpet floor. There's other stuff, I'm drawing a blank of some of the other things. Like mine still has the cruise, but like the tilt, it doesn't tilt like the nice ones. So like different people at different sizes have a little more trouble getting into it. So where it would be a little bit more of a pool vehicle, that might be a small issue, but how big of an issue, I don't know. So I don't know if the commission wants to act on it, if they want to buy local. I mean, there's the pricing. I mean, if we went for bids, the last time we went for bids, I think another, all the dealers were within the 5%, so, or above the 5%. The local dealer got it for the 5% anyway. What the commission wants to do.
I just wondered if it'd be stripped down to the point where it wouldn't have any trade-in value at the end of service.
It wouldn't be as attractive to, the family wanting to buy. It wouldn't be as attractive as it, no. It would have a reduction. Would it have a $10,000 reduction? Yeah, probably not. I mean, but percentage-wise, it would have a reduction in value.
But are we buying this vehicle to use, or to buy them just for trading in later down the road? We're buying it to use.
The old one we've had for, like I said, I believe it's an 07 and 128,000 miles. So about 10,000 miles a year.
The last time we took it to Wichita, we had close to 130,000 on it. It was under that a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
In my view, it's probably time to go ahead and, you've had this for 12 years, 13 years. It's time for us to probably do something on it.
Mm-hmm.
I'd be more inclined to go for the state contract vehicle. I mean, it's a pool vehicle, but it would get used more.
Sure.
Emergency management wise.
Yeah, it's a vehicle that would get used by, traditionally the commissioners used it to go to meetings and stuff. They've used it for fence viewing and road viewings with the county attorney. It would get used like if we sent like a fire task force, so like 4 grass trucks and a water tender, it would be their support vehicle to go with them to haul their sleeping bags and luggage and to go fight a fire, and then it would be used for them to their motel room or their shelter may be 50 miles away from the actual fire, and they'll take 2 crews so the trucks can keep fighting fire, and they would take this back to their sleeping quarters, go get meals, etc. It has a wide range of uses. We use it to distribute the cemetery when we go to the fire stations, and so it's just a utility vehicle for us and that kind of thing. And we use it for towing, and that's the one thing we need, the bigger vehicle versus just a car full. So when we're towing it, all the different trailers we tow, we have something to tow with.
I agree with Cody. I think the state contract, we need to see what we can do with the other one's the option.
And I can inquire with this dealership. I inquired a little bit. The Shawnee Mission Ford is who carries the state contract pricing. And I can inquire with Cromartie to see if they would honor that pricing and order us one with this package at that pricing.
Be fair. That'd be fair.
I think we've got a little bit of responsibility to do it locally, if at all.
Right.
Yes.
And so what I'm hearing from the commission is pursue it a little further.
Yeah.
Okay. On Wednesday, we have the Alice training. Courthouse is closing at noon. Mike and I wanted to clarify, do we want road and bridge office staff here, recycling office staff, and landfill? which means,
I don't know why personally.
That was, I thought
that's the impression we kinda
That's
had,
the
but we
impression I had
weren't
from last
completely
week.
clear, so we wanted to.
I thought we were addressing the courthouse in a situation, it's not, we're,
Well, it was training for
But-
all office
Yeah, it
staff
still gives them the training if somebody should go to their building or something.
oh.
I mean, but,
versus taking the training to them later.
right, I mean, I can do that, go to Road and Bridge and set it up through Road and Bridge and have them go there and do it, or do we bring them in? I mean, we just wanted to
And
make
do it
sure we
all at
didn't.
Wouldn't it be better in their atmosphere, instead of dragging them into a new atmosphere and then trying to, I mean.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sitting in the
Well,
classroom part.
the 2 or 3 hour lecture part,
Right.
2 or 3 hour lecture, wherever you do it.
Well, bring them in for the lecture, but the rest of it, I would think they'd wanna do it in their atmosphere.
Right, and I agree with that.
Yeah,
and
we-
you're
and
absolutely
that's
correct.
very possible. That's why we wanted to clarify what the commission wanted to do.
Because what that'll do is shorten the time next time, so they don't have to sit through this
Right.
last part. We can actually do the run-throughs
Right.
in their building.
I agree with that.
Okay, is that the consensus to bring them all in?
Sounded like the right way to go. What time are we supposed to be here?
Noon, isn't it?
Noon.
It is at 12 o'clock.
Yep,
Yeah. And don't,
Oh.
if you can still carry, don't bring.
exactly.
Don't carry that
Put them in your truck, leave them in your truck.
during the, because we're having exercise. And
Yeah.
we don't want you to reflex and pull out your real gun
Oh, okay.
when we have the fake bad guys going through.
Oh, okay.
I don't wanna get shot.
Any other questions on that? Anything else you want to add on that in particular?
Nope.
Okay. Any other questions from the commission? We got inspected, the other day by KDHE for the underground fuel storage tank, and I had mentioned that to you in the past. We did find out a little more. Road and Bridge, if we wanted to go from an underground fuel storage tank to an above ground tank, which means we wouldn't have to have a permit anymore. We wouldn't have to send a staff member to training every either 2 or 4 years. So, you know, day of training, then out of the courthouse. If we want to get away from that, he said, oh, you don't have to have a licensed contractor dig up the tank. You just have to have one come and observe it. So it wouldn't be as expensive as when I talked to you the last time. Road and Bridge could come dig it up. And then the licensed guy just has to come look at it. Once it's uncovered, they come look at it, and they gotta do their thing, and then Road and Bridge can take it out, and they look at it, come look at it one more time, and then fill it back in. If we have any desire to pursue that, we could find out, go out and get some more hard prices and stuff, and then that might get us back into the possibility of the US Cellular Tower thing, because the underground diesel storage tank seems to have been a roadblock to that since its close proximity. Does the commission have any desire to pursue that anymore? It would save us some regulatory issues. It would reduce, obviously, the amount of fuel that we have, but that could be a good thing because we don't keep it full anyway, so the fuel would probably stay fresher. And so what it would entail is replacing that tank below ground with an above ground, probably a 500-gallon tank, I think is the limit to the regulation, did not have any permit. Is there any desire from the commission to pursue that further?
It used to be the level where you didn't have to have a containment too. So,
Oh,
you did got tank up, what about the soil test? Were they,
So if,
they're
so
still
if there's,
required to do a soil test?
the state does the soil testing, and they're expense of it, and if there is a leak that we don't even know about, it goes to the super fund. I think that's the right terminology, the super fund, and they take care of that, the contamination part, so there isn't
But it may be,
there isn't really a hidden expense there.
Is there a leak detection system in the tank right now?
Yeah, we have an electronic tank level, tells you how much water's in it, how much fuel's in it, how much dead
There's
space.
nothing outside the tank,
Not that I
like
know of.
electronically down.
Yeah. So is that something we want to pursue farther and look seriously in taking that tank out, or?
How long will that generator run on 500 gallons?
The new generator has a burn rate of, I think it's 4 point something or 5 gallons an hour. So, it'd run like 5 days. Is that right?
500 gallon tank would be plenty. This, because you can have a service locally.
Right.
I'm for pursuing it.
I think it's worth checking into myself, especially if the county can take it out.
Okay. Joe? And I don't know if I'm not behind you, or
We're behind. but-
I could, these are the two I can look at another day, come up when there's not a big
Okay,
agenda.
nothing else pressing?
No. Any questions?
Thank you, Russell. Clerk's office,
Yep,
think we're ready.
well, I want to introduce all of my clerk's office staff. I have, my chief deputy, Jackie Holly, my payroll benefits coordinator, Janice Humlichek, who sits in on meetings sometimes, my budgetary accounting coordinator, Jessica Hammond, and my tax levy clerk, Terry Seaton. They all approached me on Friday and wanted to come in and just make a statement with the board, because they feel like there's been some misled information passed on to you guys, so, and I told them it was, if that was their choosing, they certainly could, so, this is on them. I did not request that they do this. They wanted to come and speak with you, so.
We want to start out by saying that we work with Angie every single day. We know what she does, and we know that she's been available to this county 24/7, 365 days a year. If you guys think we don't support her, you're wrong. She's a good county clerk. What happened to her last week was awful. She has kept this building and these grounds immaculate. She has kept the elections ran with integrity. She has kept the budget done precisely. And what was done to her was wrong. To say we don't support her is wrong. We're behind her and we work hard every day for her. You don't realize that after you guys did that last week, how many phone calls we have gotten that are upset. And they're not upset with us, they're upset with you. They are mad. And you might just find that out. Anybody else want to add anything?
I agree entirely with Denise. I've worked for Angie many, many years, and she's done really some wonderful things for this county. She's saved them a tremendous amount of money with the elections. She programs it all. We have an excellent county clerk.
And I'm very proud of how she's handled it.
Yes, that's one thing. If you go back and look at that tape, she handled what you guys did to her with grace and dignity.
Mm-hmm.
I think some people wanted her to blow up, and she did not. She handled that with dignity. And I think that that's why she's getting so many phone calls. The community saw that. You guys, that's on the internet for 5 years at least. And those people are seeing that, and they don't like it. If you don't believe me, you come and sit in our office and watch how many phone calls we get. That's all we have.
Thank you, Denise.
I can't get skinny. I tried, but I can't get skinny.
Randy, are you ready?
Sure.
Sure. We're only 8 minutes behind.
Okay.
We're not too bad.
Well, I think our biggest thing is we held the interviews with the 3 architectural firms that I think the county and we all wanted to consider, and I think out of that was some interesting dialogue from all 3 of them.
Mm-hmm.
I think I don't know if the commission wants. I have not drafted a motion or anything. I didn't know how we needed to proceed. If you wanted us to. Is there anything further you want us to do, investigation-wise, on any of the firms? You know, they're all 3 solid firms that bring a lot to the table. I think our thought was GGA seemed to do the best presentation and seemed to do the small, oriented towards a smaller jail, a smaller county, and they seem to want to focus on that. But I do know Trenner and I do HMN. They're both capable as well. I think it comes down to a personal preference, and then if you want us to investigate them as to, you know, any previous work they've done, it's up to the commission.
And we also want to thank you guys for coming in and sitting in those interviews and stuff. Really appreciate that. And, you know, this ain't just a sheriff's office opinion, you guys sat in it as well, we'd like to have you guys' opinion
Well, I think
as
the
well.
big thing too, we're seeing that, you know, Wade very well, you know, there's probably not a solution, there's just,
Right.
we're out of space, so something may tie in and the courts, and the big picture is it affects all of us in the county, so, you know, I think,
That needs to be a part of the study now.
Absolutely.
The third piece of the puzzle being Judge Wine, and
And we're still ahead of the ballgame right now where we can add
Right.
that stuff in when
Right.
we talk to them. So, you know, we need to bring that up. What else do we need to look at here before we maybe even go further? I think right now we need to choose somebody.
we need to have the dialogue there too, yeah.
Absolutely.
But, no, I sat in all three of them, and I thought GGA's presentation stood out.
at first didn't really know, I was
No,
like, and then, but they came on strong, I felt, in the end.
They brought more knowledge to the table. To that meeting, they brought more knowledge, I thought, than the other two.
I think in their three bios or whatever you wanna call it, they're only one that I seen, and in doing the research, that actually had a criminal, law enforcement, criminal justice background individual
Mhm.
on their staff,
Yeah.
you know, that's involved, and I think that's important, you know, instead of somebody sitting in an office drawing stuff out and saying, this is what you need, they have somebody who's worked in the field and
Practical experience.
and that was something they obviously, the other two firms probably have people as well, but you should highlight that to me. I don't know. That's just who I am.
And that may be one of those hidden contract fees that they gotta pay extra on. We don't know.
So,
Yeah.
You know, when you receive these three summations or whatever you wanna call it, you know, you've had a little work with the other two, GGA you didn't.
Right.
But in the presentation up front, it stood out in a mud. But yeah, we didn't have any background to go back to.
Right.
At that time.
Yep, that's right.
Could I add one thing? So, I know you're talking about the contractor or engineering firm or whatever, but as, in dealing with the courthouse for 16, 17 years that I have, and you're talking about the underground storage tank with Russell, I'm already kind of thinking ahead there. We've had trouble with this ground on the south edge of the building, and with court being there, you know, maybe there's something they could do with that ground, and maybe with this storage tank that Russell was just talking about, might want to go a little slow on that, because maybe this could tie into where you could build on there and correct that slope of the ground out there.
Right.
Just as a thought, so.
Definitely, I think it's a methodical process that we want to make sure we get it right, because I think it's going to be a significant dollar amount, obviously, and I think that's not to be taken lightly. And so, this is a first for me, and so, I don't know, do we have to put that out to bid, or is there a selection process?
I mean, I think we'd have to put it out to bid.
You know, the fact that there are three qualified firms, do we then?
So to me, and Wade can chime in on this, so we've kind of started the selection process.
Right.
Preliminarily, but we've identified some other areas we want to look at. So that criteria is changing and evolving. I think internally we need to have the discussion with county attorney and district court and jail together. I don't know if it's just four people sitting down and throwing ideas out to come to a consensus or what, but I think it definitely needs to be communication.
Put like a working group together?
Something to see, because again,
I agree.
The jail, I mean,
The company
you guys
are-
started it, and Wade's come in with areas that could be addressed, and
I know the
I would
architects
imagine
are
there's
looking
probably
at
issues
some
over there
type of
too
notification.
that we haven't heard about, as far as district court.
Right.
So, and if we could potentially wrap it up in one solution, I think that would be better for everybody.
Do we need to request what a cost estimate would be in their mind in order so we know where we're at dollar-wise, so that because I don't know, I mean, I'm asking here.
We probably need to figure out.
We still need to identify the scope,
What
basically, is
exactly,
where we're at.
because I'm sure the court has ideas on what they'd like to
Okay.
see. If something were to change.
Right.
And getting the full, having all the information to then come up with what a potential resolution would be, I think, is probably the best course of action. And, you know, your quotes are for replacement of a jail, right?
Well, I think the study is to determine what our needs are, or
Right.
we know what our needs are, but what's our solutions
Right.
and how much they
Are we-
cost.
Are we looking at, and again, with our, down the road, the RFP that may go out, is it a remodel, is it an expansion, or is it a
Those that
law
often,
enforcement, or is it a law enforcement center over
Right.
here that has clerk, attorney, jail, sheriff?
and I think one thing that really accented it was this weekend, Wade's been in, but we've been dealing with a guy all weekend since Friday night that was high on meth, anything from, just been out of prison for 2 weeks. We've been fighting him all week, and that's the reason Mike and I, we're a little stoved up. I mean, it's been one of those weekends with this guy, off and on, and so, I think it highlights the fact that we're not really set up to deal with structurally these types of people we're seeing in our world today. You know, unfortunately.
My take is it's similar to the salary study, the scope kind of changed, so we then revisited that, and we're getting new information. I think that sounds like where we are with this, my understanding.
Well, this two-part deal, we're looking at just a consultant basically right now to tell us what we need. We're not looking at construction part, right?
Right.
Right. So do we, I know we've done other things here, we just went out and got a consultant for things. If we wanted a certain consultant, and it sounds to me like even some of the commission's on board to what they're doing, can't we just go get that consultant and have them tell us what we need and then put the project itself up for bids?
So the resolution itself that references this process, that there are no bids that are needed for this particular phase.
Okay.
If we went and the building component, I guess, would be an entirely separate.
Right.
I think the one thing the architects did highlight, though, that you know, I guess the reason we're having this dialogue is, I think one of them, I don't remember which one it was, whether it was Trenner or HMN, you know, they pointed out the fact that, you know, whoever you get to do the jail study, you know, they pour into it and customize it and everything else. If then we end up putting it out to bids and this person gets it, there may be some conflict or, yeah, I think that was,
And there is,
I don't remember which
there's
one.
a lot to be said for continuity in a project like that, from start to finish.
And so that's something one of them did, I do remember, highlighted the fact
But
that,
that's something you look at when you get to that stage.
right. We need to figure out first,
We need to
identify,
figure out what it is, I guess.
you know, our situation, projections, that sort of thing, but I guess from my perspective, being able to come tell you guys, well, I think the cost estimate to do this study would be blank, you know, and not let it come be a surprise, and here's an invoice for $15,000. You know what I mean? Sticker shock. I don't want sticker shock, so.
So just me thinking timeline and planning this out, can we get Wade and you and
Oh, yeah. Judge Wine.
Judge Wine and one or two or however many commissioners, just to sit down and just hash it out, basically.
Right.
And then we can take that information and contact, I would think DGA is who were, they impressed me.
Yeah.
Sounds like you guys were in favor of them. Wade, does that sound?
I think having one commissioner would be the, I don't want it to be a situation where then you end up in the potentially having a violation of having a meeting at one commissioner and then have someone from that group come back and advise the entire board. So what happens as it relates to that group, so it's, then that information is passed on to the public, so the public doesn't feel like they've been misled that this has all been done behind closed doors.
So I'm thinking the best way to probably proceed would be to at least notify these three firms that some issues have arisen, which it looks like we want to broaden the scope of a study. within our county for not just perhaps the jail, but criminal justice, courts, et cetera, and give us a couple of weeks to maybe try to put
Get a better scope.
yeah, kind of a outline of what we're after,
Yep.
so that they know up front we're looking potentially at some, the court system and the county attorney system, and
I kinda agree with that, but I don't, because
Right.
you've already had the three come in.
Right.
You determined who you wanna do it.
Right.
Why would you wanna, even though you're changing the scope, cause you really haven't given the scope, why would you wanna go back and bring the three in again and do it when you already have one?
no, I'm not
If
saying
you
bring
want-
them back in, but don't you want a cost estimate?
We just let them know where we're at.
Are we at a cost estimate yet?
To do the study.
To do the study? I mean,
They didn't provide that with, I guess they wouldn't.
We didn't ask for that in with the qualifications, we just wanted to make sure they were qualified, and we didn't say, give us a cost estimate on what you would want a study to be. I think they did indicate, a few of them did indicate between $5,000, $10,000, $12,000, depending on how in-depth you wanna, we want them to go, as far as data, statistics, projection, 20-year projection, that sort of thing. So that would be my only concern, Bob, is cost, would it go up? I agree. I don't think you bring them back in and, I don't think you bring them back in and rehash what you've already gone over. I think we would all agree they're all qualified.
Would it behoove us, though, in this task force, to have who we've chosen be a part of that?
Well, no, baby steps. First step. I mean, we know who, we have an idea who
Sure.
we'll probably go forward
Right.
with. But I think and I'm not talking this is gonna be a lengthy series of meetings. I'm just saying to get all the pieces of the puzzle in one room, to have our discussion internally before we give it to.
What our foundation's gonna be and where we're looking.
Right.
And then it sounds like from what we're saying though, then to help, since we've already done the background on all three, is then just to do that outline, that scope, and then just go to GGA and say, this is the scope of the study that we want. Will you give us an estimate of the cost for you to do the study?
that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Instead of
I
going
think you're
back
right.
to the other.
I mean, that probably makes more sense than you're right. That probably makes more sense than to go back and,
Get you down the road faster.
yeah,
If we've already chosen them, why would we wanna go to someone else
Right.
and have their opinion again?
I agree.
Going forward then.
That's a good
You
point.
wanna work with Wade and
Sure.
anybody volunteer?
I did not sit down in the first meetings, I was gone that week. so-
Right, but I mean, as far as the meeting with,
Oh,
between the sheriff and the attorney and the clerk, district court.
which would
I
probably be
think
the
if you're
court clerk
willing,
and.
Cody, I'd like for you to do it.
I can do it.
With the importance
Somebody
of
wanna
this,
schedule it?
There you go. Okay, we will.
with the importance of this, I think any of us would be willing to sit on it. but
Absolutely.
I'm not too sure it had to be our chairman.
Absolutely.
Russell wants
That's a good
to sit
idea.
on
I wouldn't mind sitting in on it, it affects me just on the fringe, but.
Well, it does.
I mean,
think
it's
it
not like-
affects that whole area, this whole area here, and.
Right. It's not like we're throwing anything at them that they've already started. I mean,
Yeah.
okay.
I agree. Okay, well, I will go back and try to schedule something.
So just so there's no confusion later, Cody's the person that's
He's the rep.
commissioner that's gonna
Yep.
show up on behalf of the commission, so there's no
Right.
later issues dealing with who talked to who and that kind of thing.
I'll try to get something scheduled. Any day of the week that's better than others, not good.
Depending on what week.
Okay. Like Tuesdays are always bad for us
Yeah.
because of court, so.
Yeah, like I said.
Cody
just
wants
let
a
me-
day's
give me-
training.
Just let me know a couple
Okay.
days in advance or something.
All right.
Should be able to make it work.
All right, we'll do it.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you, guys.
All right, thank you. Hello, how are you, young
Good.
lady?
Quick break.
What are you doing? Look at you came out pretty good. Look at that.
Almost back on schedule.
Look at
Kinda.
growing up.
How are you?
Kim's a big boy now. Kim's all grown up now.
Seems like we'll have longer agendas. Would be better.
I know, man, it was a bummer. Kim's a big boy now. Look at him. Jacket's on and all the rest.
we're gonna discuss this for an hour.
Yeah,
Bring
yeah,
information
it's
up.
been just crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was between weather this weekend and unruly inmates.
Russell, did you have a big turnout Wednesday?
I'm getting too old to fight them.
Yeah, we had,
Put the young guys on.
I think there was 14 show up, and then plus you, and
It's going good.
I think they were thinking there might be 3.
Everything in my head sometimes.
Like, you couldn't make it that night.
So what are we coming to? Are they looking at mental health?
This Wednesday?
Yeah,
What are they?
that's
Is that mental health?
Yeah, I'll probably send out a reminder.
Yep.
6:30. That reminds me, I need to get my email. I think I gave Randall, he needs to get up. I went and got the first book, so I'm making him leave. So we need to get, I just got 10 books the first time to make sure.
I saw him heading north
Was I-
out of town this morning. I was going,
Last month, I went to the hospital, thinking of.
who knows where?
Yeah, the guy that has a secretary for the State Firefighter Association, but he works in Pekin, Fishing at 5, so you kinda gotta go up or weekend. That reminds me, I don't know if I ever sent a friend, just figure out what to go get.
Well, tell Ray I said hi.
Congrats on the,
Yes, sir.
coming.
Good, how are you? You too. What were you just talking about in there with your, that's for Southern Jail or?
Yeah, we're looking at, because we're facing ongoing continuous overcrowding, you know, with the mental health issues in our jail. Like, we got a guy in there now that's, I'm gonna kill myself.
Sure.
I don't wanna go back to prison. I've been in prison.
There's 4 more days after today.
Kill myself. So we're just dealing with them. So we're looking at trying.
Well, 'cause I heard in my message to you on the hospital.
Oh, yeah, yeah, we're working in Pike County with money for Wardsville jail.
Oh, okay. Well, I had the impression it was the in the tiger and not just the things.
We talked about the geriatric that they use. We need to take care of it. We need to be able
Yeah.
to.
Yeah, no, I understand. It's a struggle.
It is a struggle.
Yep, no, there's people talking.
Yeah, absolutely. It's good to
Got
see
my
you.
support. What's that? Oh, just winging it.
You guys
No, we're just
on
winging
it.
it. We're winging it. Winging it for
Am I the next one or is it someone in between?
Let's see, yes, you are.
Okay, I didn't want to presume and make myself comfortable. Overstep where you usually come.
Nope, you are perfectly fine.
Thank you.
Perfectly fine.
Oh, the cans are cold enough. Here.
Thank you.
I'll wait till you're ready.
You want me to go ahead and contact this resolution for everybody to sign?
How's you been?
Good.
You need to change that, it's not right.
Well, this is the way we've been advised to do it, by council.
You're not chairman anymore.
No,
It was adopted before.
It was adopted before, all we did was make it correct.
He was chairman when it was adopted.
Okay.
I was advised just the way it's
Okay.
done. Whoops.
I just
Two of
thought,
them.
I just thought that it done it very much. It was.
We're on schedule, Amanda. If you're ready.
Actually, you're here on time too, it's
Okay. Well, same with that, he was
Okay,
chairman
right
when it
before,
was
yeah,
approved,
so if you
so.
wanna sign those three for me.
Now we're ready.
Good to see everybody.
Good morning, man. How you doing?
Good. Glad the weather wasn't too bad. Not getting here, so. Sounds like it got hit north a little bit, worse than many other places. Well, thanks for having me today. I've handed out our 2019 highlights, so I like to just come up at the beginning of the year and touch base and make sure everything's going okay and kind of go over 2019. And then when I come back, we'll talk more specific about what's been going on in Coffee County and how we can do different things. So just to kind of go over that, on the front side, just some of the key things that we did, and then on the back side are some services we provided. So some of the highlights on that is just that we continue to serve a lot of individuals who are either underinsured or uninsured. And we use interns for a lot of that population, which includes individuals that are in the jail and that need services while they're there. And so some pretty significant numbers. And then, of course, emergency services always kind of comes up here, where we're using the televideo through the jail and hospital. And so as an agency, we did 811 emergency service contacts throughout the year. And with our interns, we're providing about $150,000 worth of services as well. And so just trying to look at ways that we can manage people in communities smarter and in a way that is more cost efficient for the agency and for those communities. So I don't know if you have any questions on those, but probably I'm most interested in hearing how you feel things are going. I wish I would have been here for that full conversation you were just having, but I know the task group is still diligently meeting and talking about mental health needs, and I know the hospital is involved in that, and obviously the jail. But they all know that anything we can do to support them or be at the table and talk about things, that we're there if they want to.
So we already have a task force in Coffee County.
Yes.
I say Coffee County and Wabunsee are not on here, but the rest of them, last year you launched a task force in each.
Yes, and actually you guys had already launched, we launched several in 2018, which is why they're not on here. So we now have all 7 counties. But Coffee County is unique in that right at the same time we were starting that, you developed your task force from the commission, and so we go to those meetings where they have the whole community and not just their board. So, and Lindsay is in contact with Kayla pretty frequently, so. Yeah. For you.
We had a legislature session Friday for an hour and a half. 2/3 of the time was spent on mental health and healthcare and everything, and justified. But we had a lot of other questions afterwards, but 2/3 of that hour and a half was spent on.
Yeah, and that's what we're finding. I mean, it's not just this conversation that's happening on the back end in private with certain people. It's at the forefront of most agencies, specifically those that are related to the human resource field, but I think everywhere else too. I mean, even at our place, our employees having mental health problems is becoming something that we've got to start paying more attention to, and I think that's just true everywhere. So everybody wants some education, they need a knowledge base, they need to know what their resources are. So I think in 2019 we were out more talking to different types of agencies than we have been previously. In a couple weeks I'm presenting at an extension office presentation for agriculture, and that wasn't thought about in the last few years, and so it's just really at the forefront of everybody, which is good. But we also know that as we reduce that stigma and talk about it more, we're going to hear about it more, and it's going to be more impactful. So we've got to be prepared, and so these conversations are very helpful, and to hear that the jail and hospital and the community is really talking about it. I would agree, you're gonna hear about a lot. You know, major things happening. I mean, Osawatomie still continues to struggle, and they were doing better, but it's been in the news recently that they're struggling again. And then, with the passing, I always want to go to meaningful use, and that's not the word, of Medicaid expansion is gonna be helpful for consumers, just allowing more access to people to get in the services they need. Will be a big deal. So. Any questions or concerns that you guys are having in the area?
No, but I would have a question. It kind of came up from the meeting we had last week also. Are you guys seeing more of veterans now since they have the Veterans Choice Admission Program?
We're really not. We still fall into that where we're within a certain miles of the VA, and I know that they can see us, but we still have a lot of preference to still go to the actual VAs. And we have family members that are coming through that have the insurance of the VAs. There's still a big issue, so we can open access all they want, but their insurance requires certain license, and that really ties our hands as far as who we can see and how we provide that care. So, and there's other insurances that do that as well, but typically when they get more stringent, they're wanting clinical-based social workers. We have 2 on staff, and so we get spread pretty thin with them. So they might still be choosing to go rather than wait to go, but we are not seeing an influx in that. And some we're exploring, but except for Emporia, everyone else is almost close enough to VA that they can go get that care, because you have to get special permission.
I'm just curious. Well, a lot of that's changing now, though, too.
It is, and I tried to go up and meet with the VA, because when I shut down our satellite office, I realized that that's probably a population that maybe we could now have more access to, and so, but they didn't connect me with the right people, and they weren't very, probably for lack of a better word, helpful as far as what that looks like, and so I need to follow back up and see who would be that right person, because it definitely has got to be a population out there that could benefit from closer services. So, good question. Other things?
No, we're glad you're around.
Well, we appreciate you too. I mean, we know we've got a tough job, but it takes people to support that and understand it and be willing to have the conversation. And so we appreciate your willingness to do that.
We know you're around. We know you're around because we see your vehicles.
I know.
A lot more than what we did a year
Those dang cars.
Even a year ago, your vehicles were around.
Yeah, they're a double-edged sword. Definitely see how busy we are, but yeah.
Russell? And I'd like to thank him and remind the commission as our partner for the reception centers. So like Neos for Athens and Woodson County, if we open a reception center, they'd be one of the partners that respond.
We appreciate that. We've had a good relationship with that for a long, long time, and I've definitely encouraged our regional managers to be participating in the LEPC and other disaster response, because we think that's a very good fit for us. So, yeah. And that brings up too, we do a lot of debriefings. Not a lot, but we want people to know that we're available to those, so when something significant happens in the community, whether it's an unexpected death or just something that's pretty tragic for people, that we can come up and offer support. Is just part of what we do. So if you guys hear those things, feel free to reach out to myself and we can be there. So, okay, thank you guys. Appreciate it. Hope everyone's doing well. And we'll see you in a couple months. Okay.
All right, thank
you.
Thanks, Amanda.
See ya.
Thank you.
Randy is on the agenda again. Close. Not too terribly early.
Mike.
All right. He's on his way out.
I remember you from years ago, I did school aid as well, during the graduate, but I don't remember a couple times. Yeah. So, I didn't know if we still have
Works out well so.
How far away now?
I've been thinking about it, and I'm like, oh, wow, it's really I think if you bring down your numbers, then I can shoot this so.
Coming.
Yes, we will. I'll be in touch soon. All right. Thank you.
Good day.
While we're waiting on Randy, what's the status of the other camera in here for Brad to put in? Is it in yet?
I don't know. Do we need to have Brad come up?
We need to find out.
Ask Brad to let us know.
We authorized that about a month ago, so we'll see what's going on with it.
Mr. Chairman, last night he had talked to campus security, and he was still waiting to get, for them to get back to him.
And I know in our last discussion, we had talked a lot about the software side and editing side of it. He was supposed to be getting some more information there.
And then not cross that line, and then there'll be a reaction. I think that's not making a big deal out of every time he does something.
6 people stopping on the way.
County attorney.
You know, because we were curious that they would check Oh, okay. Sorry, we were discussing our friend in jail down there.
I just dealt with him again.
If you'd like to come visit him, or can I send him to your house? I guess I'm here because I'm not here. I guess, you know me, I can't leave well enough alone sometimes, but I'm not here to throw gas on the fire. But I got back last week and Mike told me what had happened, reference to the maintenance and grounds and stuff. And there were some concerns that immediately came up over the HVAC system because it's controlled on computer, and the fact that we knew with inclement weather coming in this weekend, we have a tendency to have to fluctuate our stuff. So that prompted all this week. And I guess my question is there procedures in place, policies in place, how we're going to take care of grounds and maintenance and do stuff after hours? Because we're impacted by this 24/7. You know, just like Saturday with the, you know, around the jail and stuff like that. I guess I don't want my people drawn into all this is what I'm trying to get at. And how do we solve this problem, and how do we move forward to make sure my people know what to do at 6 o'clock on a Saturday evening, who to call and everything else. I don't want the responsibility of the HVAC system. I mean, I don't feel like I want $1.5 million system somehow to get a button pushed wrong, and maybe I'm overthinking it, but because I'm not a technology person. But when we put this system in, Modern Air expressed the fact that they wanted to very limit who messed with it.
Access to it, yeah.
You know, and it makes sense to me, and so that's the reason when Mike And Mike was doing a good job, he was taking care of business, and he said the solution was for 4 or 5 people to be trained in it. Is that?
Supervisors.
Right, to be trained on how to operate and mess with the computer and adjust temperatures. I personally don't think that's wise. That's just my perspective on it. I just don't think that's wise. I think we gotta find a better solution than that. Because I'm just afraid, this is my concern, is one of my people go in, they do something, not intentionally, but adjust the wrong thing or do something wrong because they don't have knowledge. And next thing you know, modern air's here on a Saturday night making major repairs because we screwed something up. And I just, can we find a better way to do this, guys, somehow? I'm asking.
No, that's, we need to. I know.
Well, the only thing I can say is, and I knew something like this would come up, I thought I would be helpful in a sense.
Sure.
To take some load off.
Mm-hmm.
Angie.
Okay.
I mean, I don't think she needs to worry about a toilet, whether it flushes or don't flush.
Absolutely.
Or the grass is growing or not growing, or this, that, and the other. Did I think about the HVAC? No, I did not.
Yeah.
Okay, can I add another thing to that? I have never expressed that I was unable to handle the grounds and maintenance. I have been doing it for 17 years.
And I know you did
And
not.
prior to me, it was the previous county clerk. It has worked fine. We have taken care of every issue. I was pregnant, about 6 or 7 months pregnant here one night, dumping water out of trash cans in the jail hallway outside of, or the sheriff's hallway outside of district court. And I came and I took care of this building. I have worked with this HVAC system for 9 years. I've handled it just fine. I was trained properly. I had another person that would help me. I could operate it from home. There has never been any issues with what I've done in taking care of this building. I put a new electrical system in. I have put new roofing on this building. I have sealed the building. I have replaced concrete. And I have, done many, many things. And when I took the job as county clerk, I knew what was involved. I knew maintenance was part of it. And I think I've done a very good job of taking care of this building.
My thing is, we take care of the little things, we do, Tom. A toilet, we have plumbing issues in the jail all the time, sewer backs up because inmates flush something down it. We deal with that stuff. We know that my people got a process, notify Cook's Plumbing, shut, like right now, we got the water shut off to one of the cells because the guy's flooding it back there. Things like that. Mm-hmm. It's the big items. That's the things that is drawing my attention on this whole issue, is the big items like the HVAC system, things like that we gotta, I would like us to find a better solution. I really would, because I just don't want to put my employees in that position.
Right.
Something gets screwed up and it's their fault. And it would be their if we did something wrong. I don't want to do something wrong, and I don't want to screw this system up. It's hard, to me, we already have a hard enough time keeping it balancing out hot and cold, that I don't want us to do something because we're not familiar enough with the system. And so that's why I wanted on the agenda, was to bring this stuff up, ask us to rethink some things, think through it, figure out a solution better than what we have. But in the meantime, what do I do?
And I'll just go back, this is my, same comment I made last week is, guys, just because 2 or 3 people didn't like what was going on or didn't like the person in charge, we make a motion to change it. We didn't even have a plan in place. If we would have discussed this and had a plan in place and made changes, it might have been perfect. It would have probably been a perfect situation, but the way it is, just because you don't like somebody, it's not a reason just to up and do things. You gotta have a plan in place when you do these things.
My 2 cents worth, we're better than this, guys. We're better than this.
I didn't say anything about not liking anybody. I probably should have, did I pull a freshman mistake and say, hey, I'd like to talk about? No, I didn't. I made a motion instead of saying, hey, we ought to talk about this. Maybe it would have relieved her just stress level a little bit with everything she's got going on.
'Cause I was surprised that,
So that was my ultimate goal.
And I would
But
like to add one more thing.
I'm still
I know
talking
that
if
when
you
you
don't
were
mind.
running for commissioner, you had made a comment that your item on your agenda was to get me out of office.
I don't know, man.
That's
It was-
what I was told by a very good friend of mine at the bakery.
No, it was not my agenda. Sorry, I mean,
So, no, we brought the meeting to a complete standstill.
Yeah.
What can we do going forward?
How do we,
Randy's got an issue and a concern. We need to address it.
Personally, and I don't care if you take it away, but I think for the time being, we ought to put it right back the way it was till we get something figured out what we're gonna do, because it was working. It was
I
working.
wasn't saying it wasn't working. Like I say, I was
No,
just.
but it was working, so,
Whether
and Angie said she had no problem with it. I mean, fine, if it's a temporary deal, I don't know, but until we get it figured out, let's don't just jump in and and say, we're gonna change it. We don't have a plan.
Again,
There's probably no
should I have
question.
said, should I have said, let's talk about this, as opposed to making a motion? Yes, probably so. But, again, my ultimate goal is to help the stress level of an individual.
I've never expressed
And
I
I
was
know you,
stressed.
I
Time
know you
out,
did.
Tom, Andy.
Yes.
No.
I know you did.
We're done. What are we doing going forward? Let's fix this. Angie, can you run the HVAC now until we figure this out? Just, I don't want Randy to have any problems. I don't want any other departments to have any problems. I don't wanna sit here and talk about it for an hour and a half either.
Running the
Can
HVAC or
can you run
taking
the
back over the
HVAC,
building
can
and
you run the
everything?
HVAC until we get something figured out? Cause it's gonna take a lot of discussion, obviously.
But there's
well, it's
more
all
to it.
There's more
computerized
to it
and,
than just that.
There's more to it than just HVAC.
right. But,
And that is, I mean, is your security system tied into,
to,
what is?
The fire
what-
suppression.
Fire suppression, HVAC, Russell?
So like one example that Donna called me up Friday, inclement weather was coming in, the county policy says the county clerk will call the commission chairman and discuss whether to close the building. And then if she can't get a hold of the chairman, then she makes the decision to close the building, is what the policy says. And so we're kind of in limbo.
That's what the policy says, then we have to follow the
Well-
policy.
That's
If
what
I'm
we-
not in charge of the building and grounds,
I guess I miss the days of us talking, being able to agree to disagree,
Yeah.
but move on. We're not there now. I wanna fix it. I wanna make our relationships better, but I feel like there's so many things going on that are being so counterproductive to all of us. You know, that it's, Tom, I don't think it is freshman mistakes. I think it's people out here, and I feel like they're pitting us, me against you, and me against her, and it's like, how do we bring leadership back together? Because, you know, I never thought I'd see the day, you know, I see the politics that is going on in Washington, D.C., and it makes me sick, because nothing gets done. And then we see the politics at the State House, and nothing gets done. And now I see it happening here with us.
Yep.
And we're better than this, guys. We're better than this. And I personally want to fix it. And I know that's talking a big talk, but I'm willing to walk the walk and find solutions. And I know I talked to Wade, expressing my desires to want to try to do something to improve our relationships with each other. I don't know if mediation, you know, David Cooper is a lawyer. I don't know if you know him. David Cooper, he's one of our insurance lawyers, is very well versed on elected officials. I'm just grasping here, trying to find solutions, guys. You know, when I was on the KAC board, I served on the KAC board representing the sheriffs, and back then, I don't even know if it still exists, there was a mediation team put together just for situations like this. I don't know if it still exists or not.
And David's still involved with it.
Is he? Guys, I want to work towards a solution and not be putting on a show that we're putting on here and making the front page of the newspaper every week. It doesn't do any of us any good. I know it doesn't do you guys each any good. It doesn't do me. It doesn't bring her personal life, my personal life. You know, my personal life's been drug into it by a citizen, and I think, you know, that we've all made mistakes. I'll just say that. We've all made mistakes, including me. And I've always owned my responsibility where we're at, but this is dysfunctionality. This is, and I wanna fix it. Anybody got any ideas?
You know,
Positive.
we held 3 meetings, you know, leadership, accountability, and communication, and was hopefully that was gonna head us in a better direction. But I think we're all after the same goal, you know, is to work together and find some common ground. You'll never eliminate the total issues we're talking about.
Absolutely.
But you can absolutely reduce them and find some line of communication to where things are much, much better than what they are. And we're no better off than what it was 2 years ago or 3 years ago. When I came on board, I was already told what the issues were. And those issues are still there. I'm not too sure they're not even worse
I think
than
they're
they were
worse.
3 years ago, Randy.
I think they're worse.
So I don't know where the common ground is and how we attain that. I don't know exactly. You know, in the 50 years I was in business, never, ever experienced anything like this. And, you know, it seemed like we're all got tunnel vision to a point and not willing to explore. And I don't know what the ultimate answer is.
I think it's one of those, you're right. I think we're worse off, honestly, because from my perspective on this whole thing, we lack one key thing: trust. Do we really trust each other? Do we really trust each other? Or do we always think when somebody says something or brings something to the commission, or the commission brings something up, there's an ulterior motive? Automatically we think the worst. We're thinking the worst of each other.
I think the trust is there, but in the back, there's always a little doubt.
Right.
I think technically, Randy, we've got trust in everybody.
Okay.
To a point. But there's...
Right.
That word doubt is always there in many cases, in many situations.
Well, I'd like to add, I disagree that there's trust because, like I stated earlier, I've handled this building for 17 years, and you guys had no trust in what I've been doing in all of these years. You had no belief. Whoever you've talked to, and Don, you stated to me last Friday that you'd spoken to 2 of my employees, and I specifically asked you if you talk to people I work with every single day, day in and day out, and you said you had, but you weren't throwing anyone under the bus.
That's right.
And when I talked to my staff, they were furious because they said you'd never talked to them.
And I stand to be corrected. I did talk to one very, very specifically about a year ago or so. Absolutely. I was wrong in saying 2.
But not with this staff, you haven't.
They stand to be corrected. And I'll stand foot on that.
Okay, well.
Absolutely. I talked
We
to
got a
one-
problem, we need to figure it out.
Yeah, we need to get something resolved.
We do.
And move ahead in the best direction, and I tell you, I don't know exactly what the best idea is.
I don't either. I don't have the answers because it's like everybody's in defense posture and is assuming the worst, and it's like, what happened to the days of just, you can't go in the past, I know, but I remember, you know, if I come at things from one perspective, as a law enforcement, as a sheriff, I'm looking at things on the sheriff's side of things, and I know that's usually the big conflict with commission, because a lot of the stuff the sheriff does costs money. It is. It's a big, just like roads and bridges where the roads and bridges and sheriff are the 2 big tax items that cost the county, and I probably do get, I want to say, greedy, or, you know, focused on my needs versus listening better. I think we all could do a better job listening, you know, and then come to a consensus, what's the best thing for the county and the tax, just like we're doing on the jail study. You know, no matter what I think of Bob or what we think of each other personally, I think we're doing a good job on the jail study, and that's the way it should be. That's the way it should be. And how do we get there? I'm frustrated. I'll be honest with you. And maybe I shouldn't be. Maybe I'm overreacting. But I think our employees are seeing it. They're feeling the tension. Our employees are feeling the tension. The public is feeling the tension. You know, I get bounced about it. I go in a convenience store. it doesn't have to be that way, it does not. And I'm not saying I'm begging, but I guess I am. I'm begging that we sit down to the table, all of us, and sit down and be honest with each other, and not in a public spectacle, not to air dirty laundry, but to just, and then at the end of the day, I know there's going to be differences. I know we're not going to agree on things, and that's fine. We can agree to disagree. But this stuff of today's society, people being offended, and social media, it's out of control. I'm willing to try. If somebody's got some ideas or want to try something, I'm willing to try it.
Well, like I say, I made a motion. I probably should have said, let's talk about it. Made a motion. I had 3 other commissioners aside with me, I guess, so we were all thinking along the same lines, it sounds like. What the solution is to the HVAC problem?
Right.
I don't have one.
Right.
At this point, like I say, like Bob said, it probably wasn't completely thought out. So I call it a freshman mistake. I don't know what else to word it.
I guess my question would be is how did 3 or 4 of you think along the same line when it should have been a surprise to every one of us, not just to me.
Would you see how long it took for everybody to decide?
It didn't take very long. We were just waiting for somebody to make a second because no one else wanted to make a second.
That was my meaning. I don't know what else to say.
We got a problem. We need to fix the problem.
Yeah.
Its problem is, and I don't think just putting Angie in charge of the
that's not the
the AC.
No,
that's not even close. We got 4 people running around here who don't even have a supervisor now.
How do we move forward?
That's
I don't know why they can't supervise ourselves, I guess, is what my meaning was, but.
Then you ought to just have all employees supervise themselves in the whole courthouse.
Well, to be honest with you, Rhonda's sitting down there all by herself in the economic development. Who's supervising her?
She's interim department head. She's interim department head.
Okay, why can't maintenance and janitorial be their own department? But that was my thinking. Evidently it was wrong thinking. How to proceed ahead, I guess.
Tom, the thing that made it a hard pill to swallow for a lot of my employees, and I'm just gonna shoot you straight as an arrow here, is when it appeared to be personal, when you made the statement about taking it off of her plate because of her son's illness or condition. My women employees perceive that as not a positive thing. They bit my ear about it, and I
I
told
don't know why it wouldn't be positive. I mean, I have 3 handicapped grandchildren,
But we should never bring that up in an open public meeting, family, I don't think.
No.
I guess from my perspective, you should never bring family up.
I do things all I can to try
Sure.
to relieve their stress.
Absolutely.
As often as I can.
Absolutely. But I'm
Can
just
I
saying, we as
hear
elected
you?
officials and leaders should always keep it professional, and if we're gonna have private talks, we should have private talks. That if there's something, but not something, just my 2 cents worth, that's just, I guess that's.
I would like to add to that, because I'll just say I was one of the people who was upset. And the reason I was upset, and not just on Angie's behalf, but on my behalf, because I'm a woman and a mother, and I felt like you made the inference that had it been a man, they could handle the stress. I'm
I've
sorry.
never meant it that way.
Well, that's exactly how it was taken by many of us.
Well, I
Because
thought
I'm a
it was,
woman and a mother, I can't handle my job. Hello?
The meaning, I mean, every time we turn around, we say, hey, Angie, take care of this, hey, Angie, take care of that, hey, Angie, take care of it. Again,
Did you ever talk to me and ask me if I had a problem with that?
no.
No, you did not. Thank you.
I'm gonna say again, we've got a problem, and I'm just gonna throw it out. If you guys wanna take it away from Angie, that's fine, I understand that. But I'm gonna suggest we put it back the way it was until we get it figured out. I mean, yeah, I realize, yeah, you guys are gonna do something you've already snap voted against, but we gotta figure it out. Let's put it back where it was working until we get figured out what the changes would be. And I hate to say this, Randy, because we did this with the lake. By golly, we're gonna take it away from the sheriff. We turned right around, we put the sheriff back in charge, and we pay him $7,500 a year more than we did. Now, that was one of the smartest things we ever did. And here we're in the same situation, basically. Because that was a knee-jerk reaction before anybody ever thought about what the results would be. So that's my suggestion is, Chairman, is put it back, and then we can do it whatever we want later, but let's talk about it. Tom admitted, yeah, we should have talked about it. I mean, I think basically everybody's admitted, yeah, we probably screwed up and we did that, but.
I talked to Angie Friday. We talked about the lack of communication and letting her know, what an issue may be, or two issues, or any issue. And I admitted that it probably should have went to Angie, either myself or maybe as a group, and visit with Angie a little bit more. But I did second the motion, and had my discoveries, the reason I did second it. And under the circumstances, are more behind the scenes than what I realized. And so maybe we do need.
And you seconded because you talked to one employee over a year ago. I mean.
No, there's more behind it than that, Bob.
There's lack of communication, but we need to we're sitting here killing time, guys. We need to decide what we're gonna do because we've got a problem.
This is all my concern is at 3 o'clock on a Saturday afternoon, if the jail gets flooded, I know to initially call a plumber, but then I need a point of contact to say it's okay to spend $5,000 to dig the sewer up, whatever. That's all I'm getting at. I just need something to tell me how we can operate. It's not my business to tell you guys.
Right.
And
you can't call me because when I'm out of session, I have no more authority than any of those individuals sitting right back there.
I don't know. I don't know what's legal. I don't pretend to know your guys' job as far as legal stuff goes. I just try to keep my own butt out of hot water.
That's your way here.
I just try to keep my own butt out of hot water. I can do a pretty good job too getting in hot water, so. But that's, see what I'm saying? Huh?
Evidently I'm doing pretty well.
Yeah.
So.
Well, and that's my only concern is my employees, no matter what's going on here, they just got a job to do.
Well, when you reference the sewer busting or whatever, I just assume that's just something you gotta do regardless. You don't need approval, you just gotta get it done.
We do initially, but then
So
if...
the only hurdle I see is the HVAC, so.
Right.
Now, even with that though, if he says, Angie, I need $5,000, do we have it in our budget? And I do the courthouse general budget, and we work together on that, and we get it resolved, like we've been doing for 17 years.
Because my concern is, while we're doing this jail study, we need to find some temporary housing solutions that are cheap, that temporary, like the psychiatry services, that sort of thing. And so I'm going to need to work with somebody to see if there's, a little bit of money. That's all I'm asking for is let's figure this thing out. But in the meantime, what direction do I take? I just want to know. That's all. Mr. County Attorney,
Sounds like two key words that come to mind: communication and compromise. So, in this situation, there's going to have to be both. What is the ultimate answer? Sounds like there's a number of things that go on behind the scenes that are a necessary and ongoing occurrence, whether it be HVAC or, Sheriff, you had mentioned the snowstorm and cleaning up outside of your office to make it safe for people to go in and out of the Sheriff's Department. Is that so? And you don't have your employees do that, so somebody has to be.
We tried to do it Saturday, but we were dealing with the old psycho dude back there, and in fact, one of my dispatchers ended up falling coming in, and so, and that's as much my responsibility to coordinate snow removal around the courthouse on weekends. So
So on a temporary basis, if it is given back, then Angie gets the keys to building maintenance and the staff, or is there somewhere in between where certain types of things can still be handled by Angie and others can be handled? I mean, if the building staff is gonna be an independent operation, then that needs to be explored a little bit more in detail. Somebody's gonna need to be in charge of that, and I mean, a commissioner can't do it, because then we have other problems that are, I mean, that just, we can't have that. So whatever that open communication is, nobody, I've said it before, nobody's gonna get along, everybody's not gonna get along, but there has to be the communication about what the end result is gonna be that ultimately equals a compromise on everybody's behalf. You know, when the sheriff's department comes to me with charges in a criminal case and they want these charges, and I look at it and say, I'm not charging that for whatever reason. We come up with a compromise, and then I talk to them about what they'd like to see happen with the case, but I get to make that ultimate decision. But I want their input and feedback, because that's the compromise and the communication that goes with it. So that, to me, seems like the ultimate issue that we have to deal with and explore here. What is the answer to building and maintenance? Maybe somewhere in the middle. There are provisions within the policy manual that are problematic right now because of how, and I haven't had a chance to look at it all, but the one that was brought to my attention was the one that Russell brought up, is one can interpret the decision last week to mean that you can't call the county clerk anymore. And I don't think that was the intent, but, you know, everybody gets...
No, it's not.
But that's a natural and flowing outcome of what happened, because then you have different people, and we just need to communicate about it. So I think a decision needs to be made. Either it all go back to Angie temporarily until it can be explored in detail further, or certain portions or parts of taking care of the building and facilities itself go back to Angie, and then the people that are taking care of the janitorial duties of with the building, that is handled separately, but somebody has to be responsible for them, and it can't be a commissioner. Who that would be, I don't know. Or if there's someone within that department that needs to be a department head, that needs to be dealt with. On a temporary basis, somebody needs to be in charge of them. They need to answer to somebody, and unfortunately, that's your decision to make who that would be. In the interim, and I'll only touch on just very briefly the two comments made about family. I would encourage anybody who's a part of a public forum to not talk about anybody's family. You see it at the national level, and it can be an innocent mention for all the right reasons, but I think on the receiving end, it can always be interpreted a different way. And I only mention that because bringing family in just creates its own problems, like we have here. The perception or on the receiving end of what was said last week had its own interpretation, which I'm sure Tom, that wasn't his intent at all. But
Not at all.
you know, that's when you send a text message to somebody, and it can be received on the other end a completely different way.
Mm-hmm.
So I think you guys have a decision to make how you want to see that particular department, the building and maintenance. There's several options on the table. You just need to figure out what you want to do temporarily.
Bob alluded to it, but he didn't actually say the magic words.
You betcha.
you know, even though I seconded the motion last week, and I somewhat stand behind it, except it probably wasn't done correctly without visiting with Angie and bringing it to the table. With all the discussion that's taken place, all the issues that it created, there's definitely more behind the scenes than what I felt like there was. And I'm not and to try to put those in different directions, put this person in charge of this person in charge of this person, that's something we can't do right now. I'm not too sure the best solution to it right now is revert back to where we were. Maybe set a time frame for discussion. I'm not exactly sure what would all be involved in that, but we definitely, absolutely got to reach a compromise that it's in the best interest of our employees and our citizens that we represent. And if the best solution to that temporarily is to go back to the way it was, I probably have no problem doing that. And that may be the way we'll end up down the road too, after we do some more communicating. So.
Was that a motion, or?
You know, since I seconded that, and Cody, I'll make that a motion on whether I want to put a time frame on getting everything resolved. I don't know whether that's quite right or not, but we have to.
Can we, as a part of that motion, say that we're gonna schedule either a work session or at least an hour or better block in next Monday's meeting to discuss it?
I don't know. Is that something we could discuss, you know? I know we can't, you know, one or two of us can talk to each other. We can't go out and talk to 3, 4, or 5 of us. But chances are,
we need to discuss it in an open meeting. Yeah. I mean, that is the burden that we bear as elected office holders.
I think the education component of what we're dealing with, I mean, there's been a lot of, it just needs to be done in an open session. We're dealing with elected officials and who's dealing with what their responsibilities and duties are. So I think it needs to be dealt with in an open session.
I think the important thing that we have a duty as elected officials and appointed officials is to bring things to the table for you guys, for your consideration. You know, how if buildings, maintenance, whatever is under, the things that impact each one of our offices. Some may not have any impact, but...
Just like you did today. I mean, you brought forth a very important issue because of a decision that we made.
We all got something to offer.
For time's sake, did Don make a motion?
I'll go ahead and so move, and then we put it on a schedule for next week for, you know, for 45 minutes. I'm not sure we need to put a time frame on it. Maybe put it in the last part of the agenda. That way, if it takes 30 minutes to have something resolved, or an hour, whatever it may be. But I so move.
What is the motion?
I'm sorry?
What is the motion?
I'll let you probably reword it for me, but do we need to make the motion to where we can just back up and have Angie's responsibilities as they were prior to last week's motion? How does that need to be worded to do it correctly?
So next week's commission meeting is that on a Tuesday? Instead of Monday?
Next week will be Tuesday.
Because of my holiday. I will have a representative here. I won't be here. I've got to have some cancer cut out, so I won't be here. I'll be in Topeka, so. But Mike can come.
Mike, that's what I say, but you're second.
Absolutely, Mike can represent me, and he knows all the issues. And this is too important just to punt down the road.
Mm-hmm.
This is too big an issue, from my perspective.
I think if you move to rescind the motion under agenda, or not agenda, the minutes number 14, which was to put the supervision of janitorial and maintenance staff under the direct supervision of the commission. And then
Number 14 is the one would be changed.
Rescind that, but with the qualifier that you added onto it, for discussion. I don't remember exactly what you said, but rescinding that particular
Okay.
motion.
Send item number 14 and put it on the agenda for next Tuesday, which would be, 14 be the 21st.
Yes.
And did you also talk about a timeline to get this resolved, or to be resolved next week? Was that?
You know, with the uncertainties, we would put a timeline on now or wait till we discuss it next week.
That's why we need to discuss it.
Okay.
Angie, you wanna read that back for us?
Move to rescind the motion made last week on Monday, January 6, 2019. Item number 14, that puts the supervision of janitorial and the maintenance staff under the direct supervision of the commission, and will be put on the agenda for Tuesday, January 21st for discussion.
Anything need to be added to that way?
I think that's pretty clear.
We have a motion. Is there a second? Again, we have a motion on the floor. I would call for a second.
Well, I don't know if it's appropriate since I actually voted the other way on the motion, but I'll second that motion. Because I think it's important that we get figured out what we need to do.
Having been moved by Don and seconded by Bob, call for a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed?
I gotta state again that I meant no ill will. Wasn't meaning anything against any woman at all. Was not my intent at all. I do things in my business where I think I'm being helpful, and it's not a good idea sometimes. So, again, I back up to a freshman mistake. Probably should have opened this up to discussion and thought deeper about it, so. Aye.
As opposed, or?
You said all in favor, say aye, so. Sorry. I didn't hear you say opposed yet.
Oh, sorry.
Sorry.
So then passed unanimously? Is that right, Fred? Yeah.
From my perspective, if I don't bring something to the table to address this next week, then I don't have a right to complain. I don't have a right to second guess you or anything else, so I think it's each and every one of us responsibility to bring issues to the table with you guys and put them out there versus me going down to my office and talking crap. You know what I mean? And bitching and complaining about it versus coming up here and finding solutions. And thank you for listening. I appreciate it. And I hope that we can find what's the most effective way to deal with this. Because there may be a better way. I don't know. Like I tell my people down there, just because we've always done something a certain way doesn't mean there's not a better way. You know, this weekend dealing with our guy in jail, it'd been so easy as the sheriff want to go in there and deal with it, but I gotta let my people do their job and support them and stuff. We never stop learning, do we? We never stop learning.
You do once, but you stop a lot of things.
Yeah. Well, thank you guys very much for
Thank you, Randy.
listening, and I appreciate it.
Karen, we're not too far behind. If you're ready.
Take care of the parking lot.
Oh, you're welcome.
This weekend.
Always.
Appreciate it.
Well, I'm here for good news.
Good.
You reached,
We need some good.
maybe not a goal, but you reached that figure I was talking to you about 3 months ago.
I had a goal last year. This year we would hit $1 million in interest. And as you can see from your, reports that I, submitted earlier,
we had $1,023,411.27. So that goal was met. Just to kind of give you a little bit of perspective, because I like to do comparisons. Back on the back two pages, I've done a couple of little pie charts. The one for the interest comparison shows that in 2016, we had 88,000 plus. 2017, it was 206 plus. Last year, it was 506, and this year it was $1 million. So, I'm not sure that I can hit that this year when I'm seeing what the interest rates have been doing this past few weeks. But I will say that on the other chart that I gave you on economic development, I think that's where you can really see a difference there. And all that took was making a phone call to the bank. And I made the phone call, and as you can see, we went from $137 in 2016 to $6,000 in 2019. So, anyway, that was all I had. Just wanted to share the good news. I happen to have a couple of other goals for this year. I don't mean to, I would like to take care of, we have lots of old checks that are out there that haven't been cashed. We haven't done a resolution for several years to get those taken care of. So I would like to, I'm going to start getting those in order so that you have a number and everything. That's one of my things after that.
I mean, what kind of time frame are you talking? Like 60, 80, 90, 180 days? How old are checks?
We're talking, I would do the ones that are over 2 years old.
Oh, geez. Okay.
Yeah, we need to get those cleaned up.
Does the statute say what time frame to use on that? Is it 2 years?
I believe there is a statute out there. We don't usually go back quite as far as.
How many dollars are you talking about that?
And I haven't put that all together because that was not on the goal list until now. So I'm starting to work on that now. The other thing I would like to see about doing is we are doing a lot of overpayment checks. People send in their taxes and they write their check for the wrong amount, and it's like $1.70, $2, and I would like for us, I've been reaching out to other county treasurers to see what resolutions they have. I've kind of gotten 3 or 4 of them. I want to talk those over with Wade and stuff, but I would like to put something in place that if an overpayment isn't over a certain amount, that we don't send it out.
Right. I mean, it costs
Yeah,
$10 to write a 75-cent check.
Right.
Who's really benefiting from that? Yeah.
Right,
It would just
right.
credit it to their taxes or?
Can't because of the new year taxes aren't out.
That's
We
correct.
can apply it to the second half if it's on the first half, if they paid them in half. But if they paid them in full, we're at that point again. So there's lots of counties who have done this. Like I said, I've gotten 3 or 4 just since last week. So just some things I'm looking at, a couple of goals I have for cleaning up a few things in the office.
All right. Any other questions for Karen?
No.
All right.
Million and a quarter next year.
Well, I'll try, but you gotta talk to the higher up with that are in charge of interest rate.
Yeah. All right. Claims, I think we're ready for you.
Okay. Good morning.
Morning.
Good morning.
Still morning. It is still morning.
Yes.
There's a little bit left.
Morning, Wade. Morning. All right. No road permits, 2 zoning permits, and we do have the zoning meeting. I don't believe there's any cases before the zoning board this time. We do have that meeting on Wednesday. Landfill, Don, you were asking a little bit about how construction and demolition basically changed from last year due to all the snowstorms, ice storms that we had. So in 2019, we had 4,881 tons 2018, we had 2,625. And 2017, we had 2,647. So, not quite double, but
Not
becoming
quite double. Close.
pretty close. And solid waste increased a little bit. In 2018, we had 6,190. In 2019, we had 7,133 tons. So we did go ahead and do a report on that. If you'd like to see it, I'm glad to.
I don't need
So
okay.
with the report. It is interesting.
Yeah.
We knew it was going to be up a little bit because of all the damage.
Hailstorm.
Yes.
And flooding.
And the flooding of it, yes. Construction zone done. So construction zone is working on the guardrail. Should be finishing that up this week on 22nd, Kingsbury Calvert. Then we're doing somewhat routine maintenance during the winter months. Also, too, we'll be working on the trucks since we've had all the storm damage, all the snow and ice here over the weekend.
Do you notice how every weekend?
Seems to be, and there's another chance of it here this coming weekend too, I believe. So we did a Friday prep. We were ready. We had 4 trucks ready. Needed be if called. We were not, but we ran 2 shifts there on Saturday. We also ran another shift, or we also ran our trucks on Sunday as well, trying to get the ice off. So as we know, it rained first, froze, and it snowed on top of that. Probably the worst scenario that you manage or you deal with. We did have the small truck. We call it the bobtail truck. It's what we call the city route truck. The rear end went out onto it, so we're doing an investigation right now to what extent or degree, and then as far as replacement or a repair. As soon as we find out, we'll get something before you and let you know. So with that, we ran a blade on that the town routes. We're working on, if not already, the embankment road, so we're plowing that this morning. And then with the sun, we expect it to be open hopefully later this afternoon. So that's all I have at this point. Unless you have any questions, that would be my report.
That's it.
When you do,
thanks for taking charge. I mean, see, now I'm out of here real quick.
when you do embankment road, do you actually cross it, or do you guys have to come around with your blades?
What we do is, over the bridge itself, we'll go in an empty truck to plow the snow. That, or we try to use actually the bobtail, which is a much smaller truck, but since it's out of commission, we used one of our big trucks, but empty.
So we got by with
for the weight restriction, I believe it's 17 tons, so we just get by with that.
I just wondered what kind of problem that creates.
It does, but I mean, to ensure that that bridge or that dam is in service for a longer period of time, we just need to take extra precaution and measures. So that's what we do. We do have a skid steer that we have a blade onto it. It's the one that we use for the parking lot. We've used that in the past too, is we'll take a skid steer with that big blade and then plow that off. So
do we plow the bridge part when we're plowing?
With the empty one, we do.
We do plow it in.
We do, yeah.
I didn't know whether we just came in from both directions and stopped, or...
With heavy loads, ideally, that's where it would be at, but with 100% stating, I would hope that's how we're doing it, but to say that a load may go across that, it could happen, but our intention is to keep within the framework of the 17 ton and not overload the dam or the bridge. Keeping in mind too, it does have there is a safety factor with that, so that's all I have.
Thank you.
It's unreal. 5
So you're at the end a long time
We
ago.
should have put, I was gonna say, we should have put you a long time ago.
Yeah, it's just
Put you closer to lunch so you get out of here.
Thank you very much.
I don't care where you're at, just as long as we plenty of times so we don't run over like we do several other times, so.
No, this works fine for me. All right, thank you.
Thank you, Wayne.
Is it all right to go through here?
You can.
Includes the agenda. Donna, did Wade, is he coming back around?
Yes, he does.
Okay. Of course he did. Wayne is quick, so Wade will take up the rest of the way.
Yeah, that's right, Wade will have something.
Angie, do you have anything for Roundtable? You wanna wait on Wade?
Well, I guess, I did turn over the keys to the vehicles and the meeting rooms and all the offices to Dawn, and I noticed they're gone today, so I guess, should I get those back, temporarily till there's a decision made? Because I can't even schedule meeting rooms if I don't have that. I can't make sure they're set up correctly or any of that, so, I think that's all I really have for today. Well, no, there was one other thing. I need to, most importantly, we did have some employees over the past several months that have been in on different times that have kind of expressed a little bit that they were a little uncomfortable talking about their private information out in the openness of my office. And with payroll, which is how it used to be, was back in that north corner office. I made a change when I got in as clerk, and but as time is going on and violations of HIPAA that can occur, I decided that it's probably best to make sure that she has a private space to discuss any medical issues, and plus with the salary study coming up on human resources and that, I don't want that to be an issue for any employees. I want them to have the utmost privacy and respect there. So Vernon Burke, previous county clerk, who was also an outstanding county clerk, his office used to be right here, and so I have moved my office back. Temporarily, I'll have the postage machine in my office in the front. Depending on how this all comes out, you probably, if you end up making changes to the courthouse, who's managing that, you'll probably want to find a place for that postage machine, because for years, maintenance has been the one to deliver the mail to the post office, and prior to me even, it's been under the direction of the clerk, so at that point, you probably would want to, if you do make a change, put it under someone that you supervise, and it can be moved out of my office. So I'm also making changes in my office. I've ordered a couple new desks, because with our new voting equipment, they're bigger machines, the head of them are bigger, and I'd like to have a couple more machines up in the front of my office to where if people want to come in and advance vote, we'll have the space for them. And this year's election with presidential is going to be huge. So I would like to be able to let people run through quickly.
Plan ahead and get that taken care of before
yeah.
it becomes a bigger issue.
And probably one other thing that you'd want to consider too is in moving my equipment, if I'll need to purchase a vehicle, if maintenance and building grounds are taken because I no longer have access to a vehicle, or if I'll need to rent a U-Haul or what. So, those are things to look down the line as you're discussing that, so we can talk about that next week, but that's it, so.
Thanks, Angie. Wade, Roundtable?
Speaking of compensation, HR audit, the deadline was Friday, and we received two proposals back. As you see, they've not even been opened yet, so I'm gonna hand them out to each of you. This is McGrath. I'll put yours here.
Thank you.
3 copies, so I'll give one to the chairman and then one here for right now, but that's Gallagher. So those are the only 2 we received back out of the 5 that were, as you recall, we had 5 submittals previously. These are the only 2 that responded back with a proposal for both the compensation study and an HR audit. So I guess that helps in a way to narrow it down. But if you want to take a look at what's been provided, I'll get copies of the Gallagher one to each of you, and then maybe we put that on the agenda for next week.
Yeah.
And as you can tell, I've not even had a chance to look at it, because I literally just opened them. The only other thing I have is I'm going to request 2 separate executive sessions, each one for different ongoing litigations, but I think maybe the best thing to do, considering there may be other topics that need to be dealt with, unless you want to do it now, I'd wait until the end and maybe do that last, but if we can do it now, it doesn't matter to me.
We're in roundtable. Angie's. Anybody else have anything for roundtable? Fred?
I don't.
Tom?
When Wade was asking for additional help and additional space, we'd mentioned the building across the street, and he expressed the concern about staying in the courthouse. I mean, for plant a seed, as Wade likes to put it. I mean, is there somebody else in the courthouse that could be placed over there, like the extension office? I mean, just a thought, not a request, just a thought. So, and actually, we don't own that. No, so.
Lots of thoughts on that, but
yeah, but I mean,
very good. But yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the extension office really isn't. I mean, they are and aren't a part of the courthouse, I guess. I don't know how else to look at it, but I don't know if that'd be ample space down there. It's just the first thought I had. So
As far away from the courtroom as you could get in the courthouse without.
Well, it'd be back there in the corner, it'd be pretty secluded.
I spend plenty of time in the courtroom, so it's not like wherever I am, I won't get my fill of the courtroom. The only thing I would encourage, I mean, probably including me, to do is whatever potential option is available or not available within this building, that there be, including myself, talk to whoever that is, because I don't want somebody to be displaced and feel like they've been just kicked out of their office to accommodate the county attorney's office, because that's not the intent. If a switching or swap of officers would meet that other department's needs as well, and they wouldn't feel like they could use the space in there. I mean, the office that I have is a very nice office. I hate to.
Or that too, yeah.
But that's important to me, because I want whoever's on the other end, if that is what ultimately is decided, to feel like they get an equal opportunity to provide input. And it may be something that there's a reason why that particular department needs to stay where they are, and I'm fine with that. I don't have the answers, but the fairness of the process is important to me.
Okay. I don't have anything today. Don, do you have anything?
No, the only thing I would like to bring up, and I haven't talked to any of the other 4 commissioners. These last 5 years, with my involvement with the Veterans Honor Flight Program, I've attended several city council meetings, attended several county commissioner meetings, and of course I've been involved in 3 or 4 different businesses for a long time. And, you know, we have our audio now, and we're absolutely video now. My thought, in every situation I've been to, the chairman or the president or whoever that lead person might be, is always, and I don't have nothing against Bob, absolutely not. But the chairman or the lead person is always sitting in the center. Whether that's a plus or not, I guess I'm not gonna say, but to me, the chairman needs to be in the middle of our chamber. And I haven't run into any situations that where the chairman is not, other than the city of Gridley the other night. The mayor sits off to the side. But my thought is, I'd like to have a chairman sitting in the middle.
You don't like sitting by me?
Well, I guess I could move there, and Bob could move next to Donna. To me, it don't mean there's where I sit, Cody.
Yeah.
That's just my thought, that the chairman of our commission ought to be in the middle of our five.
And I've been here for 13 years, and I don't care. I've sat in other chairs before. I think the point was, the chairman sitting there is because when they first got an administrator, before Donna, they had an assistant, is Donna would get stuff ready, the chairman would sign it. And when we're doing checks and vouchers, you're gonna be jumping over this person because this person's gonna be signing checks.
And I fully
And I think that was the point of why the chairman sat there.
And I fully understand that, Bob, and I thought that might be something would come up. But, you know, all the other counties and all the other cities that I've been to, you know, it's all handled. So, I just thought I'd bring it up. I didn't have any idea what the rest of you thought. So, other than that, Cody, I don't have anything else.
Donna?
So did you all get this,
Yep.
press release on solar energy? So, it doesn't say anything about RSVPing, but
And that was in the commission chambers in Ottawa.
yes. And then you were wanting to give it a week to think about, what funds you want to show on the fund balance sheet. Have you given that any thought? Besides the solid waste closure care reserve fund, I think you were wanting to see that, but otherwise, did you have a chance to see what other accounts for Karen?
I'm not too sure we had to show some others there, Cody, but for some reason, I didn't take time to review that list. So, whether anybody else did or not, I don't know.
Mr. Chairman, if I could speak up. I think these are typically the budget fund, or the reserve funds that you keep an eye on and that we use and spend money from, so I'm not sure that there's anything else out there that you would actually want anyway, but I could be wrong.
Well, and that, I mean, we can add to that at any time, but
Absolutely.
as of right now, I didn't have any suggested changes. Anybody have anything else? Is there anything else, Dawn?
Just that, Wednesday's Alice training, and next Monday, the 20th, the holiday, so you'll meet on Tuesday, the 21st.
Yep. Which means I won't be here, unless you need me.
You'll be here, just not there.
I'll be in that courtroom you talked about.
So then, you need a motion to recess into executive session.
Motion by someone for the commission to recess into executive session for consultation with the county councilor to discuss ongoing county litigation for matters deemed privileged under the attorney-client relationship, exception to Open Meetings Act, specifically KSA 75-4319, subsection B2, and that would be myself, the commission, the treasurer, and I need to get David Seeley on the phone, who's litigation attorney.
You can specify this as 1 or 2.
This is ongoing litigation 1.
Okay, but 1, okay.
Yeah, and it's the first one where, so I would make that request.
How long a period do we need?
15 minutes.
Also move.
Actually, could we make it 20 minutes?
Okay.
Motion on the floor, is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
Should we wait till we get Dave on the phone, or is that a time?
Motion passed unanimously, yeah, can we get Dave on the phone and then we'll set our time?
Good morning, this is Wade Dooley from Coffee County. I'm looking for David Seeley.
Actually, Don, when I was chairman, I brought that same thing up.
I'm sorry?
Actually, when I was chairman, I brought that same thing up. He said, no, you gotta move down there for those reasons.
I knew those 2 reasons were gonna come up, and I understand that, Bob.
Hey Dave, Wade Dooley in Coffee County, how are you?
Good, Wade, how are you doing?
Good.
I have no
We're
problem
getting ready to
with
move
the
into an executive session. I wanted to have you on the phone.
It's all pretty
So,
cozy.
you want to hold tight for a minute while we
If we were
take care of the formal process?
Franklin County, and everybody's parallel to each other.
So, Mr. Seeley is on the phone and waiting.
He's ready? Okay. We go in at 11:33. Come out at 11:53. Return here.
Can you hear him?
I think he's turned up all the way.
Okay, we're in. Is her recorder on?
Yeah.
Went flat out in my driveway on
I take my
Saturday.
grandson to the airport Saturday.
Wow.
Afternoon.
Morning, about 11 o'clock.
I left the office, I don't know, it was dark, and I walked across that little wooden bridge, and I went out, and I thought I snapped my wrist right there on the spot. But it's sore.
11:53, we're back in session. Wade?
Make a request for the commission for a motion to recess into executive session for consultation with county counselor to discuss ongoing county litigation number 2, for matters deemed privileged under the attorney-client relationships exception to COMA, specifically KSA -7B5-4319B2, and that would be myself
Need one to make sure you got that before you go back to the exit first.
and myself and the commission.
For how long?
5 minutes.
5 minutes. To return here.
Correct.
Mr. Chairman, also move.
Okay, a motion, do I have a second?
I'll second.
Having a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Pass 5-0. Go in at 11:55. Return at noon.
Was that attorney-client?
Yeah,
So,
same.
so Dave, no Dave Seeley, though?
Nope. Just us.
I was trying.
Sometimes you're the bug, sometimes you're the windshield.
Yeah.
My windshield,
Is that a quote?
I use that all the time in the courtroom.
12 o'clock, we're back in session. Anyone have any other comments for roundtable?
I don't have anything further.
No?
I think I'll mention one thing. My credit card bill, I'm working with the credit card company, because what you'll see if you look at my last credit card statement is a late fee. And the reason why there's a late fee is the timing in which, by the time it gets approved or signed, the voucher gets signed to pay for the credit card and then get to the credit card company for payment. We're well past the due date. So I've been communicating with the credit card company to rectify that and move that date out to a different date. And it may show up the same way on the next billing cycle, because it's something that I've recently had to deal with credit card services to address. So I believe they're gonna remove it, but it'll show up. I don't want people to think that county attorney's not paying bills, it's just the cycle. Outside of that, that's all I have.
Okay.
Noon here Wednesday. Noon downstairs.
Yep, noon here Wednesday for Alice training, in the conference room down there. Yep. And that's not a meeting for us, so we will adjourn this meeting. 12:01?
Good job, Cody.